Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher. McCardle.
Here.
Barrington. Allen.
Here.
Charts. Here. Smith.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items put on consent agenda may be removed by a council member for discussion at the beginning of formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to have removed?
I guess I don't have anything to remove, but the MADC quarterly report is in there. Are they going to give a?
They are going to speak for 3 minutes during the public commentary.
Okay.
Just leaving a 30-second buffer for questions.
Just wondering since I saw her walk in. So.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Sharp, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address these? Roll call, please.
Dosher. McCardle.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charts.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address mayor and members of city council on an item that is not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered and no action will be taken at this time. Mrs. Beck, you want to start?
Good evening, everybody. Jerry Beck with the Development Corporation and my chamber. Can you speak into the microphone for the, is that last? So just wanted to stop over and share some information. It looks like we didn't meet the deadline for the materials, so that's okay. But just want to report briefly on our 3 divisions within the office, starting with the Development Corporation. Excited that our taxable sales as of the end of June are up 10% over last year at the same time. So pretty remarkable about our taxable sales. And so that has created a lot of interest and excitement in our community. And we have been working hard with the mayor and Stephanie and Justin on getting a decent development agreement for the Western building, and look forward to hosting the developer later this week. Now, the sheet that we passed out, if you have your phone with you, if you would like to take it out and put it over the QR code, it will take you to the Chamber's website, mitchellchamber.com jobs, and we are going to be taking these QR codes to various places within the Corn Palace. You can see here an example. It's also on your sheet that on the ticket office we'll have the free admission to the Corn Palace as well as the QR code. Are you guys getting there? Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. How do you feel about that? We will also be putting signs up throughout the Corn Palace, whatever works for Doug and for others. But we'll also have the restroom signage, where if, I guess a lot of people do take their phone into the restroom with them, they can actually use the QR code and see what jobs we have available here in Mitchell. And we also will have a wood cutout, so our visitors can put their faces in the cutout and take fun pictures. But it's all about making tourists and visitors to the Corn Palace available, that we have jobs available in Mitchell. This is a great place not only to get a job, but to live. And from that website, you can also then go on to places where you can find places to eat and shop here in Mitchell.
Will you have these along the interstate?
Not yet, just because it's going to be a little hard to do that QR code from your vehicle.
Even at the C-stores are along the interstate.
Yeah.
They asked something similar to this about a year ago.
Yeah. That's a good question, Danny. We can look into that. Yeah. Yeah. So in additional to the QR codes, and I'm running out of time probably here, we're doing other things to promote jobs in Mitchell. For instance, we're connecting students to businesses. We're hosting camps for students. We have 32 participants in camps so that they're filling the future pipeline for workers. And I'll just let you know that everything's digital for us, or it seems to work the best. And in the last quarter, we've had 31,322 views of the site that you went to, looking at 127 job postings. And what's driving people to that site? Well, it's the posts that we're putting on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so forth, to make people aware that the posts are out there. And so thanks to our workforce staff that are doing well. Am I out of time?
No.
Okay,
Technically,
all right, keep going. Technically?
Mr. Allen took some of your time.
Okay, well, thank you, thank you. So in addition to promoting jobs, connecting students, we're doing whatever we can to get to the words out. And I just wanted to share that recently we had a meeting with the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and it appears they're going to be giving funds out to all communities in the state who are willing to co-op with them for marketing and for hiring incentives. There'll be some stipulations. We don't know what they will all be, but it sounds pretty exciting. So for example, if you're an employer, you have a $500 incentive. The Development Corporation would match that with $500, and then the state would come in. And so instead of just having $500 to recruit people, you'd have $1,500 is the concept. But more to come on that. Anything that can be done, we will certainly try that. As far as our CVB, can I keep going? Okay. Our CVB, if you're a fan of the 605 magazine, we do advertise in this. We have a half page in here each quarterly. Each month, and we do have a co-op with the state tourism department where they're matching $40,000, so we have a total of $80,000 to market our community, and that's a partnership with Lawrence and Schiller out of Sioux Falls. And finally, just the chamber is doing great, and we're moving into our busy time of the year. We've got ribbon cuttings coming up. And want to just do a shout out to the Governmental Affairs Committee who held the forum, and I think we had 8,000 views that night, so excited about that. So, questions? Well, thanks for your time. Stephanie will be on time next time so the report can get in the materials, and we thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay. Anybody else wish to address council? Okay. Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for City Council recess and sit as Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Chark. Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing and action on application for Marcy Stoltz. Marcy Stoltz has applied for conditional use permit to operate a family residential child care center located at 523 South Montana Street, legally described as Lot 6, Block 4, Bayonet, 2nd Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota, property zone R2, single family. Mr. Jennings.
Mark Jengus, City Planner. Council Planning Commission met, recommended approval 6-0 with one absent, to approve with conditions. The permit is non-transferable, and if the business ceases to operate for 6 months, then new application will be required. Discussion during, there were 2 negative responses from those that were notified. They did not put a reason. They are direct neighbors. Discussion during the meeting, though, was there's plenty of parking. This is on a corner lot. The owner, this is a rental, the owner of the property was present and stood up for the applicant. He's in favor of it if their insurance covers it, which their insurance will cover that. The fire marshal has done his inspection and has approved the inspection of the property. Do you have any further questions for me?
Motion approved with conditions.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 8/2/21. Boyd Reimers has applied for front yard variance of 7 foot versus 25 feet is required. for construction of an attached garage at 719 South Edmond Street, legally described as line 6, Block 9, Van Epp, 2nd Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Said real property is zoned R2.
Set the date.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody wish to address this from the audience? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 8/2/21. Emma Selland has applied for a conditional use permit to operate a family residential child care center located at 311 McCabe Street, legally described as the west 72 feet of lots 1 and 2, Block 17, University Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Property is zoned R2, single family.
Move to set the date.
Motion by Mr. Rice. Second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Reconvene the City Council. Entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn the City Council reconvene in regular session. Motion by Mr. Rice.
Second.
Second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve noise and fireworks for event on August 13th, 2021. This is Mr. Barrington's birthday party, I believe, and he has requested to have fireworks in a private show, so to speak, at, I believe it's in Lake Mitchell, is it not?
Yes, sir. Mike Coster, Chief Police Department. Yes, that is at 40 North Harmon.
Okay.
We have reviewed this. Staff has no objections to approval. Recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Chark, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion?
I would just want to mention real quick that obviously we'd be treating this approval as along with any other requests that would come in, and we're giving no preferential treatment because he is currently sitting as a city council person, but I'm sure that's the way we would approach it, and we have done in the past some special events like this. So I just wanted to make that note.
I believe we done this about a year and a half ago in December for a wedding. It was Bruce Blackley
Yep.
at Trail King, and it was just probably 2 more blocks to the west of Mr. Barrington's place. So it's been done.
Okay. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve special event permit application for Crazy Days at Second and Lawler on July 24th, 2021.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Joe Schrader, Public Works Director. Christy Gunkel, who owns Second and Lawler, has requested to close Second Avenue from Lawler to Kimball on July 24th from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. The event will include inflatables, a petting zoo, and a concessions. The closure will also serve as a site for a business auction for rural-owned, I believe, rents from the Gunkels. We have no objection, and we recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCarr.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Charks. Mrs. Gunkel, you want to say anything?
Thank you.
You get some free advertising if.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, sure. So along with the inflatables we also will have an I pledge for ice cream. So kids under 12 and under, if they can recite the Pledge of Allegiance without help, they get free ice cream that day. We also have Amanda Radke's daughter, Scarlett. She will be doing the Pledge of Allegiance to kick off. And then we have the petting zoo, we have face painting, we have a whole bunch of games that we're going to have for the kids. So hopefully you can all stop down. We have Stens and ice cream. Thank you.
Mr. Charks, Dr. Charks will be there, I'm
He'll
sure.
be there. No, actually, he'll be in Idaho. He may
Oh.
come back for it, though.
I know how he likes his ice cream.
I know, especially from there.
Okay. Anybody else wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Crazy Days Main Street parking closures requested by businesses. Mr. Schrader.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this request was made by Ashley Enders with Mitchell Main Street and beyond on behalf of the businesses. They're proposing to close the parking spaces directly in front of their businesses from July 23rd through the 25th. The businesses are Cherry Bees Floral and Gifts, 2 parking spaces, Geierman's Clothing Company, 2 parking spaces, Michael's Toggery, 1 parking space. Staff recommends approval. And the reason for the closure is just additional room and safety for their apparel to be out on the street.
You know, in the olden days, the entire street was closed, so this is a very mild request, I think. Hopefully someday, we're going to be that excited about closing the whole street, but I'll move approval of the street closures. in
Second.
Centerville.
Motion by Mr. Chark, second by Mr. Allen. We had that discussion in the department head meeting today that it used to be from 7th all the way down to 1st, the whole Main Street was closed, but I didn't realize it had shrunk, so to speak. All right.
We got Ashley.
You want to speak to this?
Well, I can, since we're.
Can't get any better advertising
Yeah,
for free. have you?
Ashley, Mitchell Main Street Director. Yes, thank you for that. That is something we have talked about, so we kind of just take in consideration everyone's requests as the membership. So hopefully we'll get there and we can take a full road closure at some point for the Crazy Days again coming up. So this weekend, the 23rd through the 25th, stop on down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2021-36 Purple Wave Auction to sell surplus items. Mrs. Bath, are you going to talk about this?
Sure. This is an online auction company that specializes in government auctions. It's no cost to the city to go to this, and we can eliminate our surplus auction. In the past, we've spent around $1,000 every year for an auctioneer and publications, and this would be no cost. City equipment won't have to sit around for a year and wait for an auction. They have an auction, I think it's, I have it here, I believe it's twice a month that they do government auctions. So. And then we would find another avenue to sell our smaller items, because they'll only take items that are basically as large as a lawnmower or bigger. So, and I know Stephanie and I have thrown around a few different ways of selling our smaller
Just get a big
items.
box and put the little.
And put everything in it, like we did at our other auction. So,
Michelle, what is their take? How much was it?
zero. There's no
No.
charge for governmental entities.
I've got a question on that
Wow.
because
Okay.
it says, the seller agrees auction may collect and retain from winning bidders a standard buyer's premium of 10%. So if somebody buys something for $1,000, we only get $900.
No, they said the listing fee is waived.
That's a listing fee. That's not a purchase fee.
I can check in with that. I've talked to them.
If you
And
go
they-
on compensation on the next page, go down past shield bidding prohibited.
Well, it does say may collect and retain, and if maybe that's not,
Keep
doesn't apply
going,
to
so
the
keep going.
government.
Compensation. Seller
I see that. I'm
agrees,
reading it.
also agrees auctioneer may collect and retain from winning bidders. So they're not getting the money from us. They're getting from the bidder.
Right.
Because there's no way these people are doing this free of charge.
Right, but there's no charge to us.
Well, sure there is. If we would sell it by ourselves, we'd get $1,000. They're selling it, we only get $900.
I think
No,
they're taking
Steve,
the
I think they're
10%
charging an
from the buyer.
additional premium on top of what we would get. They're not reducing the fee by 10%, they're charging an extra 10% on top of
If you
it.
buy it for $10,
So-
you're going to pay 11.
Pay 11? Okay.
Right.
I'd like to know what that means. Then the other question I have is how many lots will we have per year? Because each item is a lot, as I understand it. It costs us $100 each time.
Nope.
That's what it says.
The fee is
Go back
waived.
up. No, that's the fee. It still says a fee, $100 for each lot.
Listing fee is waived.
That's the listing fee. That's not the lot fee.
No, it says that they're going to pay a listing.
Seller
fee
will
of
pay a
$100.
listing fee of
$100 per lot.
Listing fee waived, Steve.
I don't think that's what it means. I would like clarification of that. And then I'd like to know how many lots we think we would have based on lawnmower size.
According to him, there are no charges, and we can sell as many times as we want through the year. Each department would just contact them and set it up.
I guess too, if council would like to see additional information, I don't know if this is working, is it? Okay. You can actually go to the state of South Dakota's website. They already have this set up and running, so if you want to see what it looks like, they are already using it. We get this because they have the government contract. The other thing is when the city does the surplus auction, we have a significant amount of expense into that. We pay for the auctioneer, the publication costs, and then we also have a day and a half of staff time to take all the
I
equipment
agree.
out.
I'm not against this. I just want to make sure I understand the legal contract that we're about to think about getting into.
Mr. Johnson, did you review this contract?
Yeah.
And what's your opinion? Are there fees in this?
No, they reserve that right to charge an additional fee over what the sale price is, but there's no direct cost to the city.
Okay, there you have it.
That's his opinion.
Well,
That's fine.
Mr. Rice, he's an attorney.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's still his opinion, based on his legal knowledge. I understand that.
So what do you want to satisfy your issues?
I just want to make sure that,
Well, we just told you from our own attorney
yeah,
that
but
we're covered.
that's not 100% given, but
What
it's-
will make
it's
you
as
feel
good
it's 100%?
As good as I can probably get. I have another question. Who exactly is going to report to the auction property any missing or incorrect information? That's a requirement that the seller has.
Each department would have contact information on their specific equipment they're
Right,
selling.
but we have to contact them if something isn't correct. So who is going to do that?
So when they put together their listing, that would include anything that's not correct or any problems with it would go into that. Am I correct on that? Isn't that your intent?
I think typically when we're doing our surplus auction, the finance office has always reviewed the total auction to make sure everything's
Right.
accurate. In this case, it's a little bit different because we don't all have to do it at once. I would anticipate that you might have, Nate might have 5 pieces of park equipment that he's going to list.
Right.
As part of that process, he's going to have to review as it gets listed on there, make sure it's correct, just like we've all reviewed the list that Michelle sends out to all staff to make sure what we've submitted to her is correct.
Okay.
So instead of verifying it to Michelle, we'd be doing it with the purple wave listing.
Right, but we need to look on their, once they publish it, we need to
Right.
review it to make sure that it's correct.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's going to be individual person's responsibility?
And that's exactly how we've done it now. But we've done it through, the finance office has had the accumulation of everybody's listings. Every department is already responsible for reporting their surplus items to the finance office. She puts it all onto one sheet. I don't know exactly who in the office.
Okay.
Sends it out to all the department heads. Everybody has to look at their specific listing to make sure it's correct. They don't go around and make sure everything's
Right, I'm not
correct.
worried about what we're submitting to
Yeah.
them. I'm worried about what they publish.
Right, so I would assume that's going to fall on the responsibility of the department head, just like it is now.
Okay, that's fine. Then what about firearms? Are firearms going to be included or not? We're still going to go a separate way for that?
Mayor and Council, Chief Coster, our intent would be to go the same way we're doing, to not sell them that way. We would continue the practice that we have of locating an FFL, getting a quote as far as what those would be worth, and doing it that way.
Okay.
And then also each item, before it would go to the auction, it would have to be surplus by city council still,
Oh,
just
so we
like in
might
the
have
past.
multiple.
Yep.
Yep, so you would still see it before it would ever be listed.
Is this the same company the state is using?
Yep.
And how long have they,
They've been doing it at least 8 years because we did it in Brookings County before I came here. The state has been, yep.
And I spoke with the city of Yankton, they're using it as well, and they've had great luck with it so far.
No.
No. Motion approved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Savers, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2021-37 lead remediation at 223 North Main. This is the Crafty Fox. As you recall, it came to you before 2 weeks ago. Turns out that there was an issue with certification for removing lead, and they had to withdraw their bid. Who wants to handle it first? Mr. Schrader or Mr.?
Yep, I'll start. That is exactly correct. I received an email from FloorTech saying that they had issue with their lead abatement certification. They'd like to remove their bid. With that, Service Master Recovery Management was the second lowest bid at $27,340.39. We reached out to them, and they said that they can have this work completed by the second week of August. And with that, we do recommend approving the quote submitted by Service Master Recovery Management for $27,340.39.
The bottom line is it needs to get remediated so that we can continue forward with getting this thing, the building repurposed. And, normally on big bids, you would get a bid bond you could withhold, but in this case, it's under the amount that would be required to be bonded, so there's nothing you could do. You could maybe take them to court. I would imagine Mr. Johnson can maybe speak to that more, but by the time you spend the money by the time you try to recoup the money that is different, you'd spend it anyway,
So this is still covered by the grant. The difference from the original bid costing the city will end up being $2,769.22.
Do you have anything you want to add to that, Mr. Johnson?
I don't think so.
I'm surprised that we have someone from St. Cloud, Minnesota doing it. Nobody closer wanted the opportunity, huh?
That is liable the difference in the cost because they'll have travel and lodging. The other people were local, were they not? Or
Yes, they were. Yep. It's specialty work, so not a lot of people do it.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion?
One more question, Mayor, and are we kind of keeping track of all the expenses that we have on that particular area? So then, if we do elect to put it on the back end of the TIF, we can?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody from the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve resolution R 2021-49, a resolution giving approval to certain drinking water facilities improvements, giving approval to the issuance and sale of a revenue bond to finance, directly or indirectly, the improvements to the facilities, approving the form of a loan agreement and revenue bond, and pledging project revenues and collateral to secure the payment of the revenue bond, and creating special funds and accounts for the administration of the funds for operation of the system and retirement of the revenue bond, and providing for a segregated special charge or surcharge for the payments of the bonds.
Council members, in your packet is a copy of the resolution. Basically, this is a resolution required by the state whenever we do SRF loans. It's part of the issuance of the bonds, and it says that we will pledge a surcharge of the existing rate structure that we already collect to pay off the bonds, the debt service that's associated with those bonds. Council has already increased the rate last year when this project was planned, but you will see a resolution later on in the meeting where we're just setting the surcharge. Again, this is a necessary step for us to issue the bonds, and can't move forward with the project unless we do that. This is for the West Water Tower repairs.
How long is the payoff period of that?
I believe we're on a 20-year note on this one, or it could be
I believe it's 30.
30, yep, because the rates are so low, the interest rates are so low right now.
That may not last as long.
Yeah.
Move to approve 2021-49.
Motion by Mr. Rice. Second by Mr. McCart. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing and action to approve Resolution R 2021-50, a resolution authorizing an application for financial assistance, authorize the execution and submittal of the application, and designating an authorized representative to certify and sign payment request. Mr. Schrader.
Mr. Mayor, Council, the enclosed resolution authorizes the city to apply for SRF financing for the wastewater treatment facility project. The application process also requires a public hearing, which notice was published in the paper on July 3rd. We will go ahead and start that public hearing now. The City of Mitchell is seeking funding from the South Dakota Board of Water and Natural Resources for a project that will include, but is not limited to, major upgrades to the city's wastewater treatment facility and the implementation of non-point source measures. The funds could be either a grant from the State Consolidated Water Facilities Construction Program or a loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Program. The city is seeking up to $10 million from the CWSRF program and $1,087,000 from the non-point source program. The expected loan term for the Clean Water SRF loan is 1.375% for 30 years. The Board of Water and Natural Resources may forgive all or a portion of the loan principal for the loan. The amount, source of funds, and terms will be determined by the Board of Water and Natural Resources when the application is presented at a scheduled board meeting. And with that, we'll open it up to any questions for public comment. None being heard, we can now close the public hearing. Just some additional information. Non-point source funds that are generated from this project will be able to be used on the watershed. It's listed in our staff report that there's already been $1,373,975 generated from our projects for non-point source projects. So it's been a good source and good way to help with lake projects and those types of projects. The funding for the repayment of the loan will come out of the established rates for water or wastewater, excuse me. We will establish a surcharge to segregate revenue out of the existing rates to be pledged for the debt repayment, similar to what we've been doing on the other SRF projects. We do recommend approval of the resolution and designating an authorized, or the mayor as the authorized representative to certify and sign payments.
I will point out, this is not raising the rates. We've already set the surcharge. This is just putting that surcharge to use.
And this is mainly a formality to get us to the SRF application.
Just a stupid question, I'm sure. What are non-point sources?
It's our projects that we're doing on the watershed. So it's their non-point source funds. That's how they name the program for designating those funds for our watershed.
When we take out an SRF loan for water and wastewater, we can get additional grant money without raising our what we're paying back to cover certain things relative to Lake Mitchell. In this case, it's dedicated to go to James River Watershed Development District, and they use that money in the Firestill Creek watershed. Correct. And that's the only place they can use it.
We've already gotten 1.3. Yep.
Yes.
Correct.
And part of the reason for the terminology is it ties in with some of the EPA measurements that they do. It's non-point source pollution control. So it's just they get federal money in through the state, and they also have to show that they're doing so many projects a year. So that's part of that program.
We did try to talk DA on our end into allowing us to use this in the lake to dredge it, but we were not successful in this bit. So it has to be used outside of Lake Mitchell. We're still working on a definition of what exactly Lake Mitchell is and what it isn't, but so far it's been somewhat liberal. For instance, the Kelly property watershed area or wetland area, this money could be used on it. So we've already got that funded, so this will go somewhere else. It benefits Lake Mitchell.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCardle.
Second.
Second, Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2021-51, amending the city's water and sewer rate resolution to include a surcharge for water tower repair projects.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Rice.
This is the 85 cents per month.
This is. And
just talked
as I said, this doesn't increase any rates, it just earmarks the money. That's right, okay. Okay. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2021-52, plat of Lot 15 and the replat of Tract A and Lot 3A and Lot 3B and Tract D, Wild Oak Golf Club addition to the City of Mission, Davis County, South Dakota. Mr. Jenkins.
Mayor, council, planning commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with one absent. It follows master plan out there. It's got all the drainage and everything for the engineering office. Only discussion during it was, covenants are the homeowners association for anything that's built out there, not public works for any of that. So there's just some clarity during that, but there were no issues from planning commission at all on this.
Move to approve. Motion by Mr. Smith. Second by Mrs. Church. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2021-53, dissolving tax increment district number 17. Gets a little dead off the books.
This is in the Woods edition.
How many years?
It was 2012. Yeah.
We were initially, the last time I did the TIF update, we were anticipating it would pay off in 2023. So this is even 2 years earlier than the first projection we did like 4 years ago. So.
Yeah, I even have extra funds to send back to be redistributed, so the last payment was quite big.
And do we have any idea in the initial assessment to the final assessment of the area?
I will after we get the TIF update. I can tell you the more recent one that we did. Maybe.
That's right. If you're going to summarize it, because closing one is just like great news. It should be cheering. Yes.
Yeah, I think there should be another 1 or 2 in the next year coming off.
Okay.
And Steve is right. You know, we need to celebrate these because it's a little bit of leap of faith that there's going to be enough increment and enough building to cover the infrastructure. And so, you know, it goes through quite a process, but when they're done right, it really benefits the community. And this, you know, we all know where we're at with housing and what in the world we do without the Woods addition right now if we didn't have it.
So I just have the last update that I did when we were actually, like you said, it was established in 2012. It could go through 2032. The equalized base currently, or at least the last time I did this, which would have been a couple, actually, yeah, was 22 million. I'm reading this across. $101,355 in 2018 after the exemption. So, and we don't have that. I don't have the final increment on this one yet, but when I get that report from, I don't even know who that comes from, Department of Revenue sends it out to Michelle, I'll update that again. So, okay. And then you'll see a final result of that.
Move approval of resolution 2021-53.
Motion by Mr. Rice.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sabers. Further discussion?
I guess one other comment, we were showing about $200,000 of remaining debt, and that was one that went against the 5% debt capacity, so that frees up just a little bit that was on there too. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Second reading of ordinance O 2021-10, establishing time periods for annual appropriations proceedings.
Nothing has changed on this from the first reading and discussion with council. I can certainly review any portion that anyone has a question on.
Have you set dates for our meetings, our hearings?
Yep. I did send those out as a calendar appointment to everybody. We do have them listed here as well. The first meeting in September is going to be the hearing on the tax levies, which is just for the property taxes. And then if you scroll down, the first meeting in November will be the first reading on the annual appropriation ordinance. The second reading is on the second meeting in November. I did already send out a notice to all subsidy applications. And also, we have a news release on what those dates are as well. So if you have anyone asking questions, they can go right here to this news information item and see all the scheduled dates that are on there so far. So council review of budget will happen in October and November, depending on how many meetings you guys are going to need.
Move approval, second reading.
Motion by Mr. Rice. Second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Jarks. You first. Is that you, I heard? Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? Roll call.
Allen.
Aye.
Charts. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
We're adjourned.